Hello, it's Mark here from Make Him Yours, and today we are doing something a little bit special for you. I've got Belinda here, a love and empowerment coach. Did I get that right, Belinda? From here in Brisbane. She works for B.Loved, or head of B.Loved, aren't you? Yeah, head of B.Loved here in Brisbane. Today we are discussing the topic, does once a cheater mean always a cheater? And I think, Belinda, there's a lot of factors to this question. One of the biggest ones is we've probably got two different types of viewers out there. We've got someone who's in a relationship, perhaps with someone who has cheated, and they're considering whether they should stay with that person. And then we've got people who may be in a healthy relationship or completely, there's been no infidelity at all, but perhaps their partner was infidel, perhaps their partner cheated in a previous relationship. So they're considering whether or not they want to, is that person more likely? What are your thoughts initially?
Initially, I think that each person should, if you're meeting someone, you should treat them for how they're acting towards you in the moment and not hold them accountable essentially for their past, if that makes sense. Because I believe people have the ability to change and adapt, and you don't necessarily know the full circumstances of the relationship in which they cheated.
And I think you do bring up a really interesting point there. What were the circumstances, and how aware of those circumstances were they? Because I think time is a factor here. If someone cheated 20 years ago with a previous partner, to me that means they're a lot more likely to have learned the lessons. They're a lot more likely to be able to look back and know and be aware of those things that caused that.
Absolutely.
Whereas someone who, say, cheated in a relationship 3 to 6 months ago, they may not have the awareness of what happened, and to me that would increase the likeliness, depending on how self-aware they are of what factors played a part.
I also think that they could have also learnt the lessons from that relationship, but I also think that they potentially might have been extremely unhappy in that relationship, which created them to cheat. I'm not condoning cheating. I don't think it's the answer, but there are reasons around why people do cheat, and I don't think that we should be blaming people or accusing them of being that person when they come into a new relationship. I think that person needs to be given an opportunity to prove they're innocent until guilty.
To prove themselves again.
Yeah,
I think you bring up another good point. There's always reasons, but there's never excuses. And if you can understand those reasons, that it happened perhaps in the previous relationship or even in your current relationship, what was the unmet need? What led to that? And the better someone can understand those reasons and really articulate them, whether it's just the two of you talking, whether it took a couple psychologist or however it is, if someone can really powerfully articulate those reasons, I think that shows they have that awareness to, tackle that in the future and not go down the same path.
I also think it's in the hands of the person who cheated to make those changes.
Agreed.
I don't think it's the partner's place or position to judge or help that person through it. I think they need to actually work through that reason and the reasons why that occurred before they get into the next relationship first and foremost.
I like to say, and perhaps you won't agree with me, I say it's never the person who was cheated on's fault. It's never their fault. I do think they can contribute. I don't think it makes it their fault. Do you agree with that? 50-50?
Should I bring up my controversial topic?
Yes,
so I've been a cheater and I have been cheated on. So having lived in both of those experiences, I know exactly how it feels. So, but it's different for everybody. So having been the cheater, I was in an experience where I was extremely unhappy. It was a domestically violent relationship. I was very lost, very insecure, had no self-love, had no self-worth, and found the best way to feel loved was to find someone that found me attractive, because physical attraction gives you that ego boost.
And what do you think the difference for you in that situation, what do you think was you could have, could you communicate to him, or could you have left the relationship? What do you think the difference is if our viewers, are thinking of staying with someone? What would you say to yourself sort of back then? What advice would you give to yourself?
Being the cheater?
So, and that to handle, just to understand and handle that situation if they're ever in it.
So in that specific situation, he had a lot of anger management issues, and I had a lot of self-worth issues, and that's why we came together, because we actually complemented each other, if that makes sense.
Sort of way.
You attract like-minded people. So I truly believe I should have ended that relationship instead of cheating, because he needed to do a lot of self-development himself, And the onus wasn't just on me, it was on both of us. That's why I am 50-50. I do think it takes 3 people to cheat.
Okay.
The person who's cheating, the person who's being cheated on, and the person that they're cheating with. Because that person who they're cheating with absolutely needs to have self-control and respect for other people and say no. The person that is cheating needs to have a conversation and sort out what the issue is with the person they're cheating on. Yeah. And the person that's being cheated on actually needs to address what they're doing in that relationship that's making the other person want to stray.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really important. Like you say, the person who is doing the cheating, they're the ultimate fixer. They're the one that has to have the communication. They're the one that has to talk to their partner. They're going to be the one that has to acknowledge their own reasons. And so if you are in a situation where, you've been cheated on, it really comes down to how can your partner communicate that to you?
Yes.
And not just how they can talk about it not happening in the future, because I think a lot of men and women would talk about never doing it again when they were confronted by their partner. I think it's the concrete action that really tells someone who would be able to break the cycle versus someone who wouldn't be able to break the cycle.
Yeah.
What sort of actions from a cheater, Belinda, would give you faith that they're not likely to be once a cheater, always a cheater?
Well, again, the old saying, actions speak louder than words.
100%, yeah.
I think there's a few areas. Acknowledgement. So you need to acknowledge that you've actually done something wrong. Not hide it, not pretend, not defend.
Owning it. I think really owning it.
Own it. And you have to, if you really love that person, you have to think, I'm actually really going to lose this person. And making the effort around that. But I think it takes a lot of steps. It takes a lot of self-development, a lot of communication with that person, true integrity and honesty. So I think you need to set goals for each other. So, and being the person who was cheated on, you need to forgive, you need to let go, and you need to not hold resentment.
Yeah,
otherwise
and that can be really hard, can't it? Because when you have been cheated on, you're always going to you're going to have that hurt, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that can be a really hard thing to let go of. And, with good reason, I think, in my opinion, there is going to be resentment there. Trust was broken initially, and that trust is going to take a lot to rebuild.
Yeah.
And certainly I do think outside factors play a part. If there are kids involved, and if there is significant settlements or whatever, it does present more of a factor to work forward, and it gives you more of those reasons to do your psychology or have your conversations and really work to save that. I think at the same time you'd probably agree staying in a toxic relationship, even for children, is a worse move than getting into 2 individual separate healthy relationships.
Absolutely. And I do think that you can transform the relationship, you can transform how it's going to be in the future, but it does take a lot of mindfulness. You have to know that you're going to put that effort in and make the effort as well.
Yeah.
Relationships are work. You go to work, if you don't work hard, you lose your job. Relationships, there's 2 people involved, you need to love one another and have full integrity.
Yeah, and if someone who was watching was considering staying with a partner who's cheated, now this probably wouldn't apply to you if you're just with someone who's cheated in a previous relationship, but in the rare incidences, and I do say rare incidences because, through my coaching, I'm all about personal development and standards and really enforcing those standards. So for my own clients, I always say you need to see significant action, and you're probably going to have to take action yourself to break the resentment. So it takes a lot of action and a lot of forgiveness to save these relationships, and you don't want to be giving up your own standards and your own development in the process. And it can be really scary to go out on your own. And I think that is what stops a lot of people from doing this. I think a lot of you out there, if you have been cheated on, you've probably had experiences where you really wanted to leave, but you were super scared of it, and that's totally normal. Yeah. And I think, Belle, you even said earlier, looking back, if you could change what you did then, you would have left straight away. Is that sort of your feelings on it?
Yeah, he would tell me every day that nobody else would love me, and that I wouldn't find anyone else. So I actually got into that. Yeah. So I believe that. But I believed that before I met him as well. He just reinforced it for me.
Yeah.
So it's about becoming strong within yourself, loving yourself, which a lot of people say they do, but it takes a lot of work to get there.
Yeah, it's really shown by actions, isn't it? Yeah. And the hardest action sometimes is putting your standards down and saying, no more, I deserve better than this, and I'm going to risk going on my own to the unknown. Yeah. And the unknown's freaking scary, right? You don't know what's out there, and you kind of have to have this blind faith and hope that you're going to have something better,
Yeah.
but you just don't know because it's the unknown, and we're so the devil we know opposed to the devil we don't.
The funny thing is if you found that person, you're absolutely going to find another person.
Yeah.
And I believe that the next person that you meet is actually getting closer to the one that's right for you. Some people find that quicker than others, and it comes from within. So what you're putting out is what you're attracting.
Yeah. And what would you say if there's women out there who, you know, have experienced this, perhaps they're in their early 20s or mid 20s or 30s, and they've experienced a cheating moment, and they don't have the full faith deep down inside, they don't feel the full faith that their partner can be 100% trusted, or he hasn't taken the full action, or there's a bit of defensiveness or ego. You know, you said if looking back you would have walked away and raised your standards. What would you say to those women out there who maybe need to have the strength and the courage to walk away and raise their standards?
Yeah, so what I'll say is ultimately, you've got to love yourself first. You are your number one priority in life. YOLO, you only have one life, so live it the way you deserve. Don't fear taking that plunge, because when you take that plunge, you're getting closer to what is actually right for you. And if you stay within a toxic relationship, you're not going to be happy anyway. So you're better off leaving and being happy and finding yourself, finding self-love, getting the hobbies back that you enjoy and deserve, and then attracting the right partner. So don't be scared, because it's really quite exciting.
Yeah, I would echo the same thing. It is so scary to get back out there. You will be so scared. You won't know what's coming. You've probably been with this person for quite a long time, and it's really scary to get back out there and just not know. But honestly, I think one of the biggest opportunities, one of the biggest growth opportunities that any of us experience is during a breakup. And I think almost all of us can look back on our breakups and go, that was a time when I grew the most. And that's more than likely what's waiting for you right now. And you kind of have to almost have a blind faith, don't you?
You do.
You don't know. You just got to have this blind, stupid faith that it's just going to work somehow. Yeah.
Life's got your back. It really does. It doesn't throw anything at you that you can't handle. And there are no mistakes. There's only mistakes. There's only lessons.
Yeah.
So take those lessons, grow from them, and just be excited for what's coming.
Yeah. So I guess to sort of summarize, Belinda, we've talked about a few things here today. I think, does once a cheater mean always a cheater? I think the answer is no. But there's a lot of buts, and you know, from me, I think the answer is more than likely yes, with exceptions. Yeah. Rather than no with maybes. Do you? Is that sort of something you resonate with?
I don't know. I actually don't. I disagree with you on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've had many relationships in my life, and I only cheated once.
Yep.
And that was due to the fact that I was in such a dark place looking for an answer, and I went to the wrong answer. And I've never cheated again, and I never ever will cheat again.
Yeah.
So I do think that, I think it's variables. There's a lot of variables, a lot of different circumstances.
Yeah. And I think, so the most important aspect is really take care of yourself first.
Yes.
I think you'd agree with that. Take care of yourself, and always expect someone else who is going to invest in you and who's going to care for you.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's through their actions post-cheating, whether that's just through their actions in your current relationship, which is great. If they're putting effort into you to love you and to take action to improve themselves for you, cheating or no cheating, then they're a person that's at least on a good path.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Great.
So does once a cheater mean always a cheater? I think the answer is it depends. And we can't get to a straight answer here, but there's a lot of factors that you want to consider that we've gone through. Well, so much discussion. I think we could have talked about that forever, but we better stop at some point. Belinda, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate you coming down. Look, I'd love to hear your opinions. Let's start a conversation on YouTube. Let's start a conversation down the bottom here. Post your comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get things going. I want to hear from all of you as to what you think. Does once a cheater mean always a cheater? Pop it in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And look, we're going to get Belinda back again very soon. So I can't wait to see you all.